Before esports and gambling in games became mainstream, there was Counter-Strike, a mod for Half-Life created in the 2000s, made just by two passionate developers. It transformed a simple project into a groundbreaking multiplayer experience, introducing the world to tactical team-based gameplay unlike anything else. You could even say that it redefined multiplayer gaming by shaping an entire generation of competitive players. Counter-Strike left an incredible mark on the industry, and since it started out as a mod, they also inspired an entire community of fans to take the experience even further, like creating new game modes, or like the subject of today's video, creating new games entirely. CS2D was developed by Unreal Software, a small indie game studio consisting of one man with a simple yet ambitious idea, bringing the fast-paced tactical shooter gameplay of Counter-Strike into a top-down 2D form. Released in 2004, it's a free-to-play game that immediately gained a fan base. Nowadays the game has been largely forgotten due to the constant gaming landscape changing and with new Counter-Strike installments releasing. But enough yapping. Is this game even good? Should you go through the effort of clicking a button to install it? Join me, as we'll dive deep into.
Why, you little monkey!
Let's start with the game's basic mechanics. To join a match, you can create your own server, browse others, or use Quick Play, which will automatically find a game for you, something Valve would shamelessly copy years later. Hosting a game offers various settings to tweak, including the option to add bots, a feature which Counter-Strike doesn't have. However, their AI is pretty stupid. You can adjust their skill level, but this is what the game considers professional. You can also switch between different game modes, and there are plenty to choose from. But I'll talk about them later. Changing the map offers quite a bunch of different options. Most of the Counter-Strike maps have been ported over in a new two-dimensional way, but others are brand new. But since the game is in a top-down view, there isn't a y-axis, meaning you cannot jump, leading to some maps being played a little different, like you can't get up here in Office like you'd normally do. Instead, you have to take the long way. Getting into a game, you can choose your team and player model, and from there it's pretty self-explanatory. All of the main keybinds of Counter-Strike have been ported over, like pressing Q to quickly switch between your previous weapon, or Shift to move slowly. If you hate that everyone can see each other because the game is in 2D, you can enable the Fog of War. This setting makes it so your field of view is restricted to only what your character can see, meaning you cannot see stuff behind you, including other players. The gunplay of CS2D is way easier than in any other Counter-Strike game, like spray patterns are not even an issue. Most of the weapons are 100% accurate, except for rifles, which kind of have some visible spray. You can enable a setting called Recoil Influences Accuracy in the server settings, which does simulate some recoil, but it's not that big of a change. But speaking of guns, most of the guns from 1.6 are in this game, but some of them have been changed, like the dual Berettas are now only one gun for some reason, and the scoped weapons have been completely reworked. When you use a scoped weapon, your view gets restricted to a small circle, but you deal more damage. However, you can't do headshots in this game, so they all kind of suck. But moving away from weapons, the other stuff also makes an appearance in this game. Like the riot shields, which by default are disabled, night vision goggles, which are useless, and grenades, which get thrown where your cursor is. Smoke grenades are also here but are seemingly pointless, since everyone can see through a top-down view. However, when Fog of War is enabled, they can actually block visibility, which is pretty cool. There's also the flare, a piece of cut equipment from Counter-Strike. It functions like a grenade, but instead of exploding, it emits some neat particle effects. With Fog of War enabled, the flare lights up a small area, which is a nice touch. As I mentioned earlier, there are plenty of game modes to choose from. Along with the classics like Defuse, Deathmatch, and Team Deathmatch, there are also some fresh additions, like Zombies. In this mode, the usual terrorists are replaced by zombies, which only have one weapon, their claws, but they function the same as knives. They can also regenerate their health. And the CTs become survivors. The objective is simple: zombies must eliminate all the humans, while humans strive to survive until the end. Although there's only one map for this mode, it's pretty well designed, so it's hard to complain. Next up is construction. It's basically team deathmatch, but everyone has a new item, the wrench. The wrench allows you to build stuff using your money. Some of the buildings include walls, which have different tiers, turrets, which are pretty mid, dispensers, which replenish your health, ammo and gives you free money, and teleporters. All of these buildings can be broken by hitting them with bullets or your knife, but can be repaired using the wrench. Some maps also have their own quote-unquote game modes attached to them, like Capture the Flag. It's pretty self-explanatory, but for those who don't know, every team has its own flag. The objective is to grab the other team's flag and bring it to yours. After that, the round is won. Then there's also Domination. There are multiple domination points on the map. A team has to dominate all of them in order to win. And finally, Assassination. Counter-terrorists spawn with one VIP player each round, who has to be escorted to a safe escape zone. Terrorists have to either kill the VIP or to prevent him from reaching the escape zone. As a VIP, you cannot buy or grab weapons. The only thing you have is your pistol. This game also has an in-game map builder, which has a lot of depth to it, like you custom weapons that aren't found anywhere else in the game. But that's about it for CS2D, a cool but often forgotten game that has a lot of unique features that weren't present in the old Counter-Strike days. Please like and subscribe.